taxpayer.
Wouldn't it be great if you could buy anything, anywhere, with your cell phone? Wireless e-business, coming from IBM.
I don't think that's the whole argument about the existence of a digital asset. Isn't just that it's Bitcoin number one, but not that it's replacing fiat. Certainly, that's something some people get really excited about, and there's a lot of conversations about it, and they're very loud conversations. But I think the notion of value being digital is something that, we live in an era when I can send a text message to a friend in Rome in 10 seconds with emojis and a GIF attached to it. Or I can send an email with an Excel spreadsheet to Cape Town in seconds. But we can't transfer value. We can't transfer money in less than, the World Bank says it costs 531 basis points to move money across borders. The average time is 2 to 5 days. That's ridiculous in the technological era we live in. But the problems with settlement, the problems with converting fiat currency, the problems with the global banking system that makes that slow and onerous in technology that dates the 1970s can be fixed with digital technologies, and that's something my company is certainly focused on, as are others.
Except, can I just say, lots of people, most of them half my age, but lots of people, or less than half my age, are constantly making constant transfers of funds using nothing but their mobile phones. So we actually have, the trans-border stuff is a peculiar thing, which has to do with jurisdictions and currencies and so on. But it's not as if we don't actually have digital transfers of purchasing power.
You're talking about Venmo and Zelle, but those are lovely front ends. But the back end settlement still takes days.
But does anyone care? I mean, the person.
So when you saw David present earlier, he mentioned this product called XRapid. And so there's all kinds of parts to XRapid that involve, the rule set that a bank might use to move payments through a digital asset, the support that our customer support team provides to the bank, the guarantees for FX rates that a market maker might provide, all those kinds of things, they all come together to then create something useful that a company could use to move payments around. And so I would say the biggest strength of XRP, and that's kind of how you started out your answer, is it has a clear use case and an entire solution built to solve that use case. You mentioned the reliability has been sort of the focus, and there's a lot of use cases that we intentionally didn't implement because they would have jeopardized the number one use case, the payments use case that we're most interested in. And so I would say, what's the roadmap? It's not a very exciting answer, but the answer is to keep being the only digital asset that's actually cheap, reliable, and fast to transfer 24/7, every day, with 5 nines of availability, and hopefully more even. So that's kind of what we're focused on, and yeah.
Yeah, to know what you are, you also have to know what you aren't. There's kind of a tendency to want to be all things to all people, and I don't think that's possible. I don't think there can be one system. There can't be one ledger that's going to be all things to all people. And we get people who ask us about use cases like trade finance, which is very exciting. It's a good use case for a technology similar to what we're doing. It's a use case that we could have pursued, but we opted to pursue payment and settlement instead. And I think you're going to see us just ensuring that we provide the features that those use cases require.
Small digression, which you'll both be amused by. I was meeting with the CEO of one of the large banks in Canada. His daughter was a student in Chicago, and he was going to visit her that weekend, and he said one of the things he's doing is taking cash because he couldn't easily, he's the CEO of one of the banks.
Couldn't easily do it.
Right. Correspondent banking, it was built decades ago. It hasn't really evolved. It's based upon swift messaging between correspondent banks. The cost of supporting that infrastructure, frankly, has gone up. One of the things that changed after the financial crisis of 2009, 2010, it used to be if the Bank of Dan and the Bank of Brad wanted to do cross-border transactions, we'd have what's called Nostro Vostro accounts. It used to be that when I put cash at the Bank of Dan, that counted positively towards my capital ratio. After that financial crisis, we decided that trusting other deposits at other banks may not be as trustworthy as we thought, and so now it doesn't count. And so banks have contracted. The correspondent banking relationships have gone down by 50% in the last 15 years. Yet global cross-border transactions continue to grow. So our view is, look, these are technologies from decades ago. We can upgrade them with today's technology, with internet-based technologies, and make this real-time transactions.